This is the Discovery Files podcast from the U.S. National Science Foundation. Recognizing the promise that advancing artificial intelligence technology holds, the U.S. National Science Foundation has invested over $500 million to establish national artificial intelligence research institutes. These institutes are the results of a national competition to support research and education hubs at U.S. colleges and universities. The AI institutes will collaborate with industry and government to advance the frontiers of AI, as well as a range of scientific and engineering disciplines and societal sectors that stand to benefit from AI innovation. Michael Littman is the Division Director of Information and Intelligence Systems in the Computer and Information Science and Engineering Directorate at the U.S. National Science Foundation. Dr. Littman, how are these national artificial intelligence research institutes going to advance society?
I think there's a recognition of the importance of and the promise of AI. And one of the ways that we've decided to respond to that moment is by creating these institutes that cover not just how to move AI itself forward, but to figure out how it can be used to solve the problems that really matter to us. And that's one of the things that's really exciting. As somebody who, from my perspective, I've been in the field for 30, almost 40 years, and we've always believed, me and my colleagues have always believed this is a really important technology that can impact people's lives. But it turns out to really study that, you need to look at problems that actually impact people's lives. And the AI institutes are really at the forefront of trying to understand how we can make this technology really matter to everyone.
How is AI being used to support education and farming initiatives?
Well, agriculture and education are two very important problems that we face as a society. And to the extent that we can get help automation-wise from artificial intelligence systems, that's a tremendous benefit to everyone. So in particular, a substantial number of the institutes that we're supporting, nearly half of them are involved in some way with agriculture or education. And all of the AI institutes involve education in some way. One of the ways that the AI institutes support agriculture generally is through an understanding of next generation food systems, questions like farm resilience, farm sustainability, decision support in the context of farming, and just the climate more generally, which of course impacts agriculture. The institutes are figuring out how to solve problems like reducing fertilizer runoff and identifying new pathogens using artificial intelligence techniques, reducing the cost of running the farm generally, increasing the sustainability of farms and increasing resilience to climate challenges, monitoring crops, managing water allocations, empowering plant breeding, accelerating carbon sequestration, building up drought resilience. These are all different ways that the institutes are bringing to bear artificial intelligence technology to solve critical problems in the agricultural domain. One example that I think is particularly interesting is the use of robotic crop pickers. Robots can reliably identify ripe fruit and harvest it, as well as execute interventions to keep crops healthy. And that can avoid wasting food and the energy required to produce it. This can have a major impact on society as a whole. We're obviously very dependent on farms to keep us fed and the educational system to keep us smart. And bringing to bear artificial intelligence technologies to address problems in those domains is absolutely essential. So on the education side, the AI institutes are solving problems like developing tools to support teachers, reskilling and upskilling adults, improving the understanding of student engagement when learning about STEM topics, and scaling support for speech and language pathologists. A concrete example, classroom teachers have the best understanding of what's going on with their students. However, automated systems to improve their awareness of the ability of the kids to follow the material is really valuable. That can help catch problems sooner and help children learn better.
And now, a short preview of Seeing the Unseen, a documentary about the Green Bank Telescope, coming soon from the U.S. National Science Foundation.
The first time I saw the GBT, it was a breathtaking moment. It's like seeing a dinosaur in Jurassic Park. You just feel like you're in the presence of this engineering marvel.
We're in the discovery business. I think it's important for us to understand where we come from. We are intimately connected with astronomy. The story of astronomy is the story of mankind. It's our origins. It's how we came to be, how planet Earth came to be, how the sun came to be. And that's an important story. I think it's important for us to understand where we came from and where we're going.
The AI Institute for Societal Decision Making, or AI-SDM, is introducing AI to complex situations such as disaster management to harness the power of data to offer better and more trusted options in conditions of uncertainty. Aarti Singh is a professor in the Machine Learning Department at Carnegie Mellon University and director of AI-SDM. Dr. Singh, what are your goals at the Institute for Societal Decision Making?
Our main objective is to help improve decision making for the benefit of society using AI. So that means working with people from emergency management and public health officials to enable them to make decisions in the face of uncertainty, under dynamic situations, and under resource constraints. So very often they have to trade off competing criteria, like should they be making decisions that are accurate, or they are maybe under time pressure, and also the objective of fairness, how can they make sure it's equitable? So what you're doing is using AI to help them make the decisions that are most effective. We do this by simulating scenarios for them that they may not have thought of. So what would be the outcome if they were to take a different decision, right? And then creating the situational awareness for them by triangulating multiple sources of data that may be incomplete, but reducing the uncertainty by combining them together. And we are also working with them not just on the research collaboration, but also on education efforts and upskilling efforts. So we are developing training modules for emergency managers, for health officials, and really also partnering with a lot of educational partners like community colleges, as well as high schools to develop curriculum that's at the intersection of AI and social sciences.
How does AI make it easier for people to make difficult societal decisions?
Societal decisions are hard. If you think about an emergency manager or health official making decision during crisis, then they really have to trade off multiple competing criteria, right? And they have to do that even though they may have only incomplete sources of information. And these sources may come and go. There are different resources that might arrive or others that may become unavailable. So how can we create the situational awareness around it so that the managers are able to evaluate the circumstances well and think of scenarios that they may not have thought before? So something called counterfactual reasoning, where we can help emulate scenarios under alternative decisions and helping them understand that. And a key part of, I think, societal decisions is connecting with the stakeholders to understand what would make the decisions acceptable to them. And this is where our institute brings together AI researchers along with social scientists, cognitive, behavioral, and social science researchers who have been working with emergency managers and health officials for a long time now to understand how humans make decisions, how they trade off different criteria, and can we now use those as metrics for AI algorithms and really develop technology that's trustworthy and can be adopted.
You mentioned an educational component. Have you seen any challenges introducing these concepts in that area?
Right now, there is a lot of apprehension around AI, and that's where it's so important to communicate the work that the Institute is doing, because we are really using AI for social good and for the benefit of society. So it's about connecting with the public, and that's where I think it's great to leverage off of our partnerships. For example, we have a high school that we are working with who's already been teaching a course on AI and society for the last 5 years. So we are starting from there and then trying to extend it, make it modular, so that any of the specific modules within the curriculum can be adopted by other high schools, depending on what the flexibility is in their regular programming. I think the challenge is in terms of identifying the schools that will be willing to do that, but we are working in participatory design with the educators and the teachers. Similarly, on the community college space, we are really connecting with 30 plus community colleges across the whole country, coming from different socio-cultural backgrounds, different geographical regions, rural versus, from the city, and understanding their needs and plugging into making sure that the curriculum we create plugs into their regular programming.
The NSF AI Institute for Research on Trustworthy AI in Weather, Climate, and Coastal Oceanography, or AI2ES, is creating trustworthy AI methods to revolutionize our understanding and prediction of high-impact atmospheric and ocean science phenomena. Amy McGovern is a dual-appointed professor at the School of Computer Science and at the School of Meteorology at the University of Oklahoma, and director at AI2ES. Dr. McGovern, how might AI revolutionize meteorology?
AI is revolutionizing meteorology because we're able to improve our predictions and also improve our understanding. So let me dive into both of those. The one aspect is, can you just improve like predictions of the events that are happening? Can we improve our prediction of hail? Can we improve our prediction of tornadoes? I give the examples of those high impact things because I'm from Oklahoma, tropical cyclones, all those things. And we can do that. But the other half of it is that using AI to develop new things like new sensors, for example, for synthetic microwave imagery. So we are going to launch a whole bunch of new satellites, but if we can use AI to give us synthetic microwave imagery, we can get new views inside the storms that we can't get right now, that we can then develop new understanding of the science behind, for example, why a tropical cyclone is intensifying or why one is intensifying and might look identical to another one that's not intensifying. What can we understand about the differences between those?
What makes it difficult for people to trust the predictions that come out of AI or machine learning models?
The thing is, I think people think about trust. It's a dynamic thing. It's not a static thing. You don't just trust or distrust, right? You trust based on your experience. It's true for every application of AI. And I think sometimes people think, oh, well, just because it's AI, it should be trusted or it should be not trusted. But that's not the case. We really need to develop experience with what we're doing with our models. And my answer to what makes it harder is that you need time it's a process. You can't just get handed a model and say, here, you should go trust this. Having somebody you trust tell you that might give you a little bit of a leg up. But then beyond that, you need to have experience at the model, see where it works, see where it doesn't work, see if it's helping you with your decision making. We're working with professional decision makers primarily. So emergency managers, forecasters, and they're looking at these and they're trying to make decisions that are affecting people's life and livelihood, or they're calling life and death decisions. They're not just going to trust it straight out of the box. They want to see how it works. Every model that's out there is wrong. And the question is, where is it wrong and how is it wrong and how can it help me? When is it right? And that's part of what the process is going to get them. So one of the things that we're doing is looking at road visibility conditions. So we're using AI methods, we're developing AI methods that can take all of these images which are available live and tell you in real time what the status of the road is. So is it safe? Do we need to halt all the transportation? What's the visibility? Is it snowy? Is it wet? Is it dangerous? Is it dry? Etc.
What's the most exciting challenge for you to tackle using AI?
Personally, trying to make AI that improves our climate resiliency, because we know that the climate is changing, and as the climate's changing, all of our weather impacts are changing. And so being able to both predict and improve our understanding of all of these events so that we can become more resilient as the world is changing is really exciting to me. And I want that to work, not just with the professional end users, but with the general public, with everybody, being able to make us as a society more resilient.
At the National AI Institute for Adult Learning and Online Education, also known as AI Allo, they are using AI-enhanced tools to reskill and upskill workers through online education. Dr. Ashok Goel is a professor at Georgia Tech and executive director at AI Allo. Dr. Goel, how is adult education different from other kinds of education, and how is AI helping?
Adult education differs from, say, K-12 education, both socially and cognitively. From a social perspective, most K-12 children go to day schools to get education. But many adult learners, because they have jobs or families or age or health or finances, cannot go to school. So we must take education to them. So one challenge here is, how do we take education to them? Now, online education is common and it's rapidly growing, but quality of online education can vary a lot. So the challenge for AI Allo is, how can we improve the quality of online education for reskilling and upskilling of adult learners so that we can make it on par with in-person education? So as an example, we build conversational textbooks, books that you can talk with. So imagine a near future in which you can put a book in your car, and so when you're driving a car, you can just talk to the book. Or interactive videos. There are 1 billion or more videos on YouTube, but you can't talk to any video. But imagine a near future again where the video not only shows you a skill that adults might be interested in, but as you're trying out the skill, the video gives you feedback and says, you got this right, you didn't get this right, and here is why you didn't get it right. So interactive videos, conversational textbooks are two ways in which we want to help adults do reskilling and upskilling through online education.
Is there any pushback or misconceptions among educators with introducing these kinds of tools?
There are some, both from teachers and from learners. So one of the pushbacks that we sometimes get from teachers is that, well, will AI replace me? And that goes back to our point about AI displacing workers or teachers or workers too. And our answer is, first, AI is not going to replace teachers. Teachers are way too precious. They do so many different things that AI is just simply incapable of doing. But quite apart from that, instead of displacing or replacing teachers, we want to help them. So as an example of helping teachers, not just learners, but helping teachers. Teachers spend a lot of their time answering the same routine questions again and again. If we can cognitively offload them to an AI agent, we can free teachers so that they can do more things that are engaging to them, talk to students about deeper topics, more creative topics. Another issue that comes up often is this is an issue, for example, that my higher administration asks me, why do you deploy your technologies in 2, 3, 4 classes? Why didn't you deploy it in 3,000 classes at Georgia Tech? There are a large number of classes at Georgia Tech. Many of the learners are taking it. We partner with the Technical College System of Georgia, which is composed of more than 20 colleges with 300,000 students. They ask the same questions. Why deploy it in a few classes? Why not hundreds or thousands? And the big challenge here is scalability. Building AI technology is one thing, but scaling it to a level where hundreds of thousands of people can use it is a different thing. And that raises some challenges for AI, not just sort of using AI to help people, but that changes really big questions for AI itself. For example, if you build an AI technology, people have to be able to use it and learn how to use it. So we are exploring a theory called theory of mind. So you and I have a good theory of mind. Although this is the first time you and I are meeting, I have a theory of your mind. I can ascribe a mental state to you. And you can similarly have a theory of my mind. In fact, we can go further. I have a theory of your theory of my mind. Humans and machines don't. Now, if we want these AI assistants, learning assistant, teaching assistant to be really used by learners and teachers, then there has to be a mutual theory of mind where the AI machines can understand humans and humans can understand the AI machines. Now, how to do that is an open problem.
How does the Institute's collaboration come together to address these big AI questions and concerns?
AI has become such a big scare. Everyone is concerned about the potentially negative impacts of AI. And so for me, the big question is, can we not use AI as, instead of being part of the problem, but it becoming a part of the solution? In my lab, we have been doing some of this work for a while. And some of my colleagues at AILO have also been doing their work in their own labs. But by bringing all of us together, NSF has opened new doors. As an example, one of my colleagues is from organizational psychology. Now, I would not normally talk to an organizational psychologist. Another colleague is from the Department of Philosophy, and he takes to everything a very humanistic approach, which is just awesome because he keeps on challenging me about everything, which I find so useful and interesting because it forces me to think deeper.
The Artificial Intelligence for Future Agricultural Resilience, Management, and Sustainability Institute, or AI Farms, is bringing together researchers in artificial intelligence and agriculture, combining their expertise to promote advances in agriculture. Vikram Adve is a professor in the Computer Science Department at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign and director at AI Farms. Dr. Adve, how might AI be beneficial to farmers?
At a very high level, modern agriculture faces a huge challenge, which is to increase food production worldwide by about 70% in the next 25 to 30 years because of population growth. And the problem is that we have to do that while the number of people doing farming is going down, the land available for farming is going down, the environmental considerations are extremely stringent already, and we don't have the luxury of just doing the kinds of past practices for increasing production. In modern crops, you have very small teams of farmers managing hundreds or even thousands of acres of crops, and it's very, very difficult for them to really pay attention to every part of the field and every single plant. And so they are fundamentally limited in what they can do with human labor. And so technology, for example, small autonomous robots can work alongside large equipment and allow them to be much more precise in how much fertilizer they put in different parts of the field, in detecting weeds, in avoiding herbicide resistance, which is a major problem for weeds today, and replacing that with mechanical weeding through robotics, using these kinds of technologies to detect when diseases appear in certain parts of the field or pests appear in certain parts of the field, and to really tailor the chemical solutions, whether it's herbicide or pesticide or fertilizer, just to the extent that's needed, which greatly reduces the costs, the input costs of agriculture. It reduces the environmental pollution because of these chemicals. And overall, it reduces the carbon emissions because of the amount of carbon that's used to create fertilizer. So there's a number of benefits of this kind of technology. Another dimension of this is you can use computer vision, so cameras, which are typically pretty inexpensive these days, to monitor both crops for disease and pests and also livestock. And so in modern livestock farming, you see like a team of 7 people might be managing a sow farm, a pig farm with sows, and I've seen one where they had 1,200 sows being managed by 7 people. It's just mind-boggling how people have to do that. But instead, if you had cameras monitoring the pigs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you could have much earlier detection of issues like heat stress or health problems, or just monitoring their activity and avoiding fighting and all kinds of other things that happen in the farm.
What are the challenges getting adoption among the farming community?
So that's a really good question. We actually have a major thrust on technology adoption run by Ag and Consumer Economics Department folks. The biggest challenge is not the openness. Farmers are actually remarkably open to trying out new solutions and new technologies. The biggest challenge is that they are very financially constrained, so they cannot really take risks on new technologies. So the technologies have to be extremely robust, they have to be cost effective, they have to not require large upfront capital investments. And so these are the real obstacles. But if you can overcome these obstacles, they are really open to trying new ideas. And that's what we're finding with all the farmers that we work with, that they really do want to try these things out. And so we have carried out both experiments with the technology and also surveys from the economics to understand the barriers to adoption and how we can overcome them.
Having spoken with other people working in the agricultural space, I'm aware that there's a challenge getting younger people interested in farming. How are you approaching that issue at AI Farms?
This is a major demographic challenge that faces farms all over the world, not just in the developing world, but even in a developing country like India, we see this all the time, that younger people are going off to urban areas for technology jobs or other jobs. By bringing in technology into agriculture, I think we can do 2 important things. One is to make the job actually more interesting. It's technically challenging, technically more interesting, more advanced, and it allows them to work with the kinds of things that they already are familiar with. And the second thing for younger generations is that by bringing in technology, you can really greatly reduce the amount of very tedious, very difficult human labor that is required in today's farming practices, and make their entire approach to farm management be much more driven by data and driven by technical expertise rather than kind of the back-breaking manual labor that you see in today's farming. There are like toy robots and a toy sensor kit which represents how a production farm of the future might look, with sensors for detecting soil moisture, for measuring water temperature and water depth. For example, when the soil becomes too dry, it can automatically activate an irrigation system to irrigate a plant. And so, for example, we are using these to develop lesson plans for middle school kids and high school kids to expose them to the potential for technology in agriculture, but also to teach them basic skills like programming. And so it both exposes them to the kind of technology that happens on farms, but also gets them to learn basic programming and computing skills and see the applications of those technologies in the real world.
Special thanks to Michael Littman, Aarti Singh, Amy McGovern, Ashok Goel, and Vikram Adve. For the Discovery Files, I'm Nate Potker. Please subscribe wherever you get podcasts, and if you like our program, share with a friend or consider leaving a review. Discover how the U.S. National Science Foundation is advancing research at nsf.gov.